Hello and welcome to a video. Hello and welcome to the Last Place Fire Team YouTube channel. I'm Yendi, and today I'm going to be going over my opinions on what Battlefield 6 will need in order to be successful in today's world. Does it look like I'm reporting the news with this thing? So these are completely my opinions, so take everything I say with a grain of salt. Again, just my opinion. If you disagree, let me know down below. The next Battlefield should have a permanent rush mode, period. None of this nonsense like in Battlefield 1 where it was only a limited time event. I don't know what they were thinking there, but that was a terrible idea. People know Battlefield for Conquest and for Rush, and personally Rush is my favorite. So what were you thinking, DICE? For those who don't know, in Rush, you are either the attacking or defending team. As the attackers, your job is to go into the enemy base and arm 2 MCOMs. Once armed, the attackers must make sure that the defenders don't go up to the MCOMs and defuse them. So if the attackers are successful and they blow up those 2 MCOMs, the defenders get pushed back and 2 more MCOMs show up, which the attackers have to once again activate and blow up. In Rush, every death counts as a ticket which gets dwindled down from your team. So if your team runs out of tickets before defusing the last bomb, that's it. Game over. Attackers lose, defenders win. There have been times where I've played games where it came down to 1 ticket and all the defending team had to do was just defuse the bomb. But luckily, somehow, our team got together and we managed to keep the defenders away. So yeah, as you can tell, those games are very, very exhilarating. While Conquest is the bread and butter of the franchise, it is generally often more slower paced than its frantic counterpart of Rush. And it's a game mode that generally requires a lot more tight teamwork in order to actually pull out the win. And while we're at it, they should just go ahead and add in Squad Rush, which is just a smaller 4v4 version, which gets really intense if you have good squads going up against each other. To be fair, the last Rush mode I played was in Battlefield 1, and it just wasn't good. I can't tell exactly what it was about it, but it just didn't have that same feel that Rush from Battlefield 3 or Battlefield 4 had. And I think it had something to do with the time period and the weapons, which I don't want to do anymore, World War II. So yes, the next game absolutely needs to have a permanent Rush game mode and Squad Rush. Fingers crossed for that. If the setting in the next game isn't in modern times, people are going to riot. Sure, World War II was nice for a while after it had a nice break, but now it's way too oversaturated and we need to go back to modern times. I've been dying to play a game that wasn't Call of Duty with modern weapons. I can't stand it. I'm ready to go back to the realistic feeling and gameplay of Battlefield. I mean, that's not saying much because it's still like a video game, but the gameplay is much more realistic than Call of Duty, and I cannot wait to get back to the Battlefield roots. And when I say modern, I don't mean like 60s or 70s, none of that Black Ops BS. I want 2010 and up. No one wants to continue using World War II weapons and vehicles. Give me an M16 or P90 and let me roam free across some photorealistic version of some Italian city, and I'll be great. That's it, that's all I need. Speaking of weapons, I would love for the M16 to be that one weapon we all talk about again. Or, in my case, give me that sweet AN-94, which I absolutely loved and wrecked with. I don't know what that was. But yeah, I love that weapon. AN-94 was the most used weapon for me in Battlefield 3. I think I had like, I don't know, maybe like 9 kills with it. Or 1,000, doesn't matter. Man, I love that weapon. So yeah, basically, that would make things right again. Having a nice modern weapon with full auto, all that BS, drum, whatever, you know what I mean. Give me back some good weapons. P90, M16, AN-94, M4, those classics. As for the maps, I would love to see smaller, more concentrated maps that work really well with Rush game mode. I want an urban vibe with skyscrapers and subways and that kind of vibe. Heck, throw me right into the middle of New York City for all I care. I also really like the sandy Moroccan vibe. Imagine running through the rooftops with an M4 chasing enemies down. You'd be like a modern day Indiana Jones. How badass would that be? Now, that's not saying I wouldn't mind the bigger maps, because that is also what Battlefield is known for. But generally, I tend to skip the big maps if I can. I just prefer smaller maps, because those big maps, man, they take forever to traverse and to get to the action. By the time you get from one point to the other, everything's done in that area. Then you have to move on to a different area. So yeah, I'll take it, but I'd prefer much smaller, concentrated maps, but not as small as Call of Duty. F that S. In my eyes, a majority of the players who pick up this game don't do it for the campaign. That's more of an add-on anyways, at least for me. So when I buy a shooter, I'm not buying it for the story, because in my eyes, they're all exactly the same thing. You got a bunch of AI enemies popping up at a predetermined, pretty predictable spot. Tired of that. I buy it for the multiplayer and the multiplayer experiences. And really, multiplayer is where it's at and where the money is. So with that being said, I think that the team needs to put a majority of the resources into the multiplayer to make it as great as possible. Now, while I hate the idea of the next Battlefield being a free-to-play game, I do think it's the only way the game will succeed in the long run. I just hope that the inevitable microtransaction system doesn't turn this game into yet another Call of Duty or Fortnite by introducing cosmetics, ridiculous cringe dances, and crazy weapon skins. It just opens up a can of worms, and I'd hate to see the more serious shooter in Battlefield stoop down to that level. Okay, let's talk Battle Royale. I think Battle Royale is overdone, and honestly, if it doesn't make it into the next Battlefield, that'd be a sigh of relief for me, because I think that they could take that resource and put it into other, more innovative game modes, even though I know most game modes have been thought of already, but I'm sure that they can think of something. I mean, even a Battle Royale where they have like King of the Hill mode, or I don't know, or Rush, that'd be cool somehow. I don't know how that would work. Obviously, I'm not a designer. I would not be sad if Battle Royale was not an option in the game. Plus, to me at this point, Battle Royale seems more like a one-trick pony mode anyways. Like, it's old now. To me, it's stale. Change it up. It's 2021, and all games should have crossplay from the get-go. No excuses. Being able to play with friends who are on different hardware is awesome. It is one of the best experiences you can have in gaming, and crossplay enables that. So I do think that this game absolutely needs it. I love having the ability to play Warzone on my PC while my friend plays it on his inferior console. If only they would upgrade, right? Okay, so we've seen the arguments that PC players have an advantage because of mouse and keyboard and all that, blah blah blah. But after playing Warzone with console players, I'll tell you what, sometimes I get absolutely destroyed by controller players, and I swear they were cheating. But then again, I blame everybody who kills me as a cheater. So, yeah. Anyways, I don't think that's really a big deal anymore. I feel like people have gotten accustomed to playing against PC players. Now, the one thing that I will say is that it does suck because a majority of the cheaters in Warzone, I believe, are PC players. Obviously, because we have more options for modding and stuff like that. And because the game is free to play and people can make as many accounts as they want, it's harder to stop and track down. But I wouldn't put the blame solely on PC. So yes, make crossplay a day one thing. If you don't like it, disable it. So right off the bat, I think one of the most important things is that the game absolutely needs to work right on day one. There needs to be plenty of servers to be able to handle that big day one load with all these new players coming in to try the game. If DICE doesn't get this right, this will be a blemish on their game day one, and people will just tell their friends, and their friends will tell the other friends, blah blah blah, and then they'll say that the game is bad. That's just how it works. It kind of happened like that with Battlefield 4, I believe. I think I had a lot of connection or server issues the very first night of the release, but let's hope and pray that this is actually a good release, and they have good servers, and the net code is good. That was a big thing, I believe, also for Battlefield 4. Something about the gunplay just felt off. I felt like I wasn't hitting my shots, so make sure those servers are up and running and you have plenty of them, and make sure that that net code is good to go. Now, I don't expect the weapon balance and vehicle balance to be perfect on day one. I know that'll probably take a few days or weeks, whatever. Fine, that's normal. People will find the best weapon and abuse it. Same thing with the vehicles. But I am optimistic that that'll get fixed and sorted out in time to make sure that the game is a fair and fun experience for everybody. I mean, in my mind, I think this would be the case, seeing that DICE has had plenty of time to develop this game. I think the game's been in development for quite a while. I don't think there's any excuse for DICE to not have this game perfected right out of the box and have their servers ready to go for probably a record turnout. And I cannot wait to uninstall Warzone for good, if of course the next Battlefield is crossplay. Let's recap. The next Battlefield needs to have a permanent rush mode, modern settings and weapons, no more Tommy gun nonsense. Give me an M16 or AN94 and I'll be good to go. The game needs to have multiplayer focus because I think that's where the money is, obviously. Hopefully it's not free to play, but I won't be super disappointed if it is free to play as long as microtransactions don't ruin the game cosmetically and, how should I say it, water down the player base. I'll leave it there. The game also needs to have crossplay so that I can play with my friend on Xbox who refuses to upgrade to a PC. I think crossplay is the future, and if Battlefield 6 does not have it, I'll be very confused and disappointed, crossing my fingers that it does have it. And finally, I think the game must absolutely nail the launch. It needs to have servers ready to go, it needs to have a good netcode, it needs to work well day one. Being a long-time Battlefield player, I am super hyped for this game, and I cannot wait to finally play it this winter. Hopefully it doesn't get delayed into next year. So yeah, I guess that's it, huh? Those are my thoughts. That's what I think that Battlefield 6 will need to be successful in today's world. Thank you for watching the video, and I'll see you on the next one.